Hi everyone, Mike here from Lollar Pickups. Today we're going to be talking about and comparing our 4 Strat pickup sets, the Vintage Tweed, Vintage Blonde, 64, and Special S. While each of these pickup sets offers a classic, vintage faithful Stratocaster sound, each has its own unique flavor, response, and characteristics. We feel confident that for players chasing any of the sounds of Fender's golden era, we have something to offer to help you on your way to getting out there with the best Strat tone you can find. If you ask someone to draw a picture of an electric guitar from memory, there's a pretty good chance they'd come up with something that resembles a Fender Stratocaster. One of the most iconic musical instruments of all time, the Strat has been the instrument of choice for countless guitar legends of the past, present, and just as certainly the future. From the deep, ringing, bell-like voice of the neck pickup, to the bridge's bite and the immediately identifiable quack of the in-between positions, the Stratocaster is a versatile instrument that has a place in a tremendous variety of styles of music. As with any instrument with as long a history and storied a legacy, there have been many variations, modifications, and adaptations over the decades. With that in mind, each of our Strat sets can be generally associated with certain tendencies of different eras, but they are not necessarily faithful vintage replicas. At Lollar, we rely on decades of experience, R&D, measurement and testing, and most importantly, listening, to help us identify what characteristics of these various era of Strat tones are so uniquely inspiring to us and so many others. And then we turn our attention to how they can be improved. So, while it's true that Fender may have used part X or Y in a certain era, this type of magnet or that gauge of wire, we are not after pure reproduction for the sake of being vintage correct. Instead, we have spent many years figuring out how to produce consistently high-quality, reliable pickups with an inspiring, musical voice that harkens back to the sounds that inspired so many of us to play guitar in the first place. Our aim is to bring the best vintage sounds into the era of modern manufacturing to help players find pickups they can count on, both in terms of reliability and musicality. Something important to remember about the method behind Fender's design philosophy was that, since they designed and built the entire signal chain, from the instrument and pickups to the amplifier, Fender was working with a fairly closed ecosystem. They designed pickups of a particular era to have what was at the time considered peak functionality with the instrument and amplifiers with which they were used. So, as amp design evolved, allowing for more volume and clean headroom, and to deliver sought-after tones of the time, so too did their pickup designs. More headroom meant that they could wind pickups hotter for a fuller, fatter, and louder output. That's a big reason why older Fender pickups tend to have thinner tone and lower output when compared with their later counterparts. Now with that in mind, let's take a look at some of the characteristics of our different Strat pickups. Lollar Vintage Tweed pickups are inspired by the sounds of the earliest Stratocasters rolling out of Fullerton in 1954. Our lowest output Strat pickup set, the Vintage Tweed, is bright and glassy with an emphasis on the high end. These particularly clean-sounding pickups play exceptionally well with modulation and time-based effects and can do very nicely with overdrives, as their reduced low and mid-range frequency response leaves plenty of room for effects that add content in those frequency ranges. The Lollar Vintage Blonde set draws its inspiration from the mid to late 1950s era, from which many of the most iconic Strat sounds derive. This set offers plenty of chime and sparkle with slightly more output and low-end content. The mid-range is slightly scooped, which helps this set deliver plenty of that classic Stratocaster quack in selector positions 2 and 4. Lollar 64 pickups offer a fuller mid-range and a noticeably more sensitive pick attack, giving them added body and percussive punch. As the name suggests, they are inspired by mid-60s pre-CBS Strat sounds. A great choice for players handling both rhythm and lead duties, or players who use a combination of flat picks and bare fingers due to its dynamic sensitivity. The Lollar Special S pickup set is our darkest and hottest of our traditional Strat pickups, while still sounding thoroughly vintage Strat. They take some of the characteristics of the 64 and turn up the dial, increasing the response in both mid-range and low-end frequencies, along with a bit of reduction in the top end for more open bass and rounder treble frequencies. They will push an amp more readily and compress nicely for a smooth, rich breakup. A great choice for players who find Strats to be a little bright for their tastes, or those wanting a little more grit. Now that we have a frame of reference for our standard offerings, this is a good time to point out a couple of popular mix and match sets. While all of our Strat sets will sound great as sets of 3 of the same type, mixing a Special S bridge with neck and middle pickups that are either vintage blondes or 64s has been a very popular custom combination with players and builders over the years. We refer to these sets as the Special Blonde and the Special 64. These sets offer a slightly hotter, darker bridge pickup to give a little more output and body to that sometimes thin position, which also tames a little bit of the high end. So, now that you have a better idea of how our various Strat pickup offerings compare to one another, you can use that knowledge to better understand which ones might be right for your needs. We hope you found this video to be helpful and informative. If you have any questions about the pickups in this video or any of the other products or services that we offer, you can contact our customer service team at the email address or phone number on the screen. If you enjoyed this video and would like to be in the know when we post more like it, feel free to subscribe to the Lollar Pickups YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future content. Thanks again, everybody.